Hello, my name is AJ Goldsby. I'm a life master from Pensacola, Florida, and I'm coming today to bring you a game that I played just recently online. It's a 3-minute game, and it's not a great tournament game or any key important game from a major tournament or anything like that. It was just an online game I played online. It was also a 3-minute game. However, several people were watching it, and more than one person wrote me, and they asked immediately afterwards, and even one of them wrote me an email and said that I should post the game online. And there were several things that this one, he was a lower rated player. He was rated under 1,000, but he wanted to know how it was possible to make a sacrifice like that and to do it so quickly. And I told him, once you're more experienced, that you learn to see patterns developing, and you basically can recognize what the preconditions are for this type of sacrifice to be set up. And he basically begged me. I mean, he said, please, annotate this game and put it on your website, and I agreed to do that. He said that he found it, he thought it would be very instructive. He said it to him, it was like a lightning strike. I mean, he didn't expect it at all, and he said it would help him a lot and players like him, if I would analyze the game, and explain exactly how I was able to make this kind of combination happen, and what the factors were that allowed me to play this type of combination. So I agreed to do that, and so without any further ado, we'll go ahead and launch directly into the game. For the opening, I just tried to develop quickly and naturally, following my own principles. And without being too obvious, Black made several bad choices in the opening. Without any provocation, he exchanges off his good bishop and also surrendered to center. So here we go in the game. The first move was d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, e3, c6. And just to let you know, the two players involved in this, it was an online game, so I go under the handle of Florida Chess Player, FL Chess Player, on chess.com, and my opponent is atty-at_win, attorney@win, I guess. But anyway, that's my opponent's handle. So I thought I'd go ahead and just present this game to you here. And anyway, so far, both sides are developing their pieces, controlling the center, that type of thing. Knight f3, bishop b4. And that move is kind of, it's not bad. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a little unnecessary. In other words, if white, say, kicks this bishop with a2, a3, then, where does the bishop go? And is black really going to exchange off his good bishop for the knight? In fact, I think white should probably consider here possibly queen c2 here might have been a good move to prevent the double pawns, but I wasn't too worried about it. I just went ahead and played bishop d3 and decided now if black exchanges, I play b takes, and I'll have bishop a3 maybe to try to trap the black king in the center. And that's exactly what it does. He plays b takes, c3 check. Of course, this is surrendering the dark squared bishop, a long squared piece, and it's black's good bishop, and so he's giving up a good piece, without even forcing white to play a move like a3 instead. So I think that concept is a little doubtful. Therefore, I gave it a dubious. The engine wasn't that impressed, or that scores didn't go that far up or down by black's move. But I think as a rule that black should avoid exchanging off a good bishop, for basically no provocation or no gain at all. I don't think black gets anything out of this at all, except for maybe the double pawns. And in this position, the double pawns are not significant because that white can always liquidate the double pawns. He can always play c takes d5 and get rid of the double pawn. So here I got to say the black's really getting nothing for his bishop at all. B takes c3. It's also a loss of tempo, by the way. Now he plays d takes c4. This is also questionable as well because, black is surrendering his center. He's giving up his control of the center. And a lot of players do this online when they're trying to play quick chess. They're just trying to move fast and not really thinking about the consequences of what a move like this will do. But anyway, bishop takes c4, knight bd7. Now here I could have just castled, but here I decided to play a4, and I give that an exclam. And the idea is very simple. I just want to prevent or restrain black from playing this b5 pawn advance. Now black castles, and if black had not castled there, then my next move was definitely going to be bishop a3, and that'll catch the black king in the center. So that's not something I think black wants to become a part of. So he goes ahead and castles, and now white castles here. And this position here, the opening is over, and Fritz says that white has, and a lot of other programs as well, but Fritz shows that white has a very nice, healthy edge in this position. Also here interesting was the move, instead of just castling, white could have played a5 there. But after castles, white went ahead and castled here. And I want you to notice something. Just take a look at the position. Notice that after castling, white has a lot more space. Look at all the extra space that white's pieces can get to or easily use, and whereas black is basically trapped on the first and second ranks. He's got, you know, 2 pawns and 1 knight on the 3rd rank, but he has very, very little space here. And space is also an important, you know, it's one of the basic elements of chess: space, time, force, material. So you have to always bear those things in mind when you're playing a game of chess, that you don't allow your opponent to take over too much space or to bust up your king or expose your king early or something like that. You know, you have to keep in mind all the basic elements when you're playing a game of chess. Obviously, you can't play giveaway because that puts you too far behind on material. So all the factors early in a chess game come into play, and here the main one is clearly white's overwhelming control of space. But anyway, just backing up a little, white played a4, black castled, white castled, and now probably a pawn break. Black should try to attack white's center. White's got this real nice mass of pawns, 3 pawns in the center. So black should try to play c5 or e5, probably just c5, and try to break down white's center and kind of liquidate some pawns, and also get some, open up some lines and get some space as well. So I think that a central pawn break, probably c5, was called for at this point. Here black played knight b6. That's just a quick move. A lot of players will do this kind of stuff. Naturally, I go back to bishop to d3. Note that the bishop is pointing at the black king side. So already we can see that, you know, and I'm already starting to think about, you know, those types of sacrifices. Knight d5, of course, this hits this square here. I don't want to allow the pawn just to drop. I'm not going to drop a pawn on c3. So a simple development move. Bishop d2. And black plays rook e8. Now that move was not very good at all. Okay, that was, you know, the box says it was probably better to try knight e7 and then maybe put the knight on g6, and it's blocking some key lines. If the knight goes to e7 and then over to g6, then some key lines get blocked there. But here black played, you know, 12 rook e8, and now watch what happens. White has a the engine says that probably rook e8 was an error, a pretty bad error at that, and it was better to try for plans like maybe knight e7 g6 or even b6 and c5. One of those two had to be better than rook e8. But anyway, here now white has a mobile pawn center, and you hear a lot of times people talk about that, but like one guy said, you know, he hears masters talking about that, or better players talking about what an advantage a mobile pawn center is, but basically, you know, how is it used? Well, here it's used very simply. The pawns advance, hitting the knights with a gain of time, and white just gains a ton more space. He already has more space, but he's going to gain even more space and knock black's knights back with a gain of tempi. So just watch this in action now. White plays e4, of course, hitting the knight on d5. The knight's got to move unless black wants to lose material. Knight e7. White plays e5. That hits another knight. So the knight goes to d5 and now c4. And now black puts his knight back on c7. If I'd have been black, I thought that the best idea was an idea like maybe knight b6, d7, f8, because that will control that vital h7 square. But black played knight c7. And that move was, again, much inferior to the other plan of b6, placing the knight on b6 and then on to d7 and maybe even f8. So here we have the crucial position, okay? And take a look at this current position. If you want, go ahead and stop the video for a second and just study this position for a few minutes. Okay, if you did like I asked and stopped the video, you looked at it for you know, as long as you wanted to, and you tried to predict maybe what white's next move would be. And you know, white's got several different options here. Knight g5 is interesting. Queen c2 is interesting. I mean, white, just about any playable move here is reasonable. But I chose a move here that I thought was best, and this was what the idea I had in mind ever since my bishop got onto this key diagonal here, especially once black had surrendered to center. So now I go ahead and I play bishop takes h7 check. And that's, you know, the important part of this, is that white immediately decides to rip the pawn cover away from the black king. And I think that this has got to be the correct line, although some engines do seem to prefer instead knight g5. But to me, this is the most forceful, so it has to be correct. It's also from a philosophical viewpoint. In other words, the idea that, you know, this is what I was playing for, this was my concept and idea, and usually in chess, a lot of emphasis, especially a lot of textbooks, place a lot of emphasis on the idea of being consistent. In other words, constantly, you know, moving forward and being true to your ideas. And of course, too, with black's pieces bunched on the queen side, a quick decision on the king side is not only logical, it's got to be the best way to end the game. Anyway, black goes ahead and takes the bishop. I don't think he really had a choice. Otherwise, white just backs up and he's won a pawn, and the game is pretty much over. So anyway, black takes, knight g5 check, king g8. Of course, king g6 was just about suicide here. We'll just take a quick look at that. King g6, queen g4, f5, e takes f6, g takes f6, knight e4 check, king f7, queen h5 check, king g7, bishop h6 check, king h8, and now knight takes f6. And white's literally going to mate here. It looks like white's next move is going to be bishop f8, and I'm not even sure how black's going to stop that without playing giveaway. So it's pretty much a resignable position at that point. But anyway, so after knight g5 check, king g8 box. It looks to be absolutely forced. Doesn't look like there's any choice at all. And now white plays queen h5 check. Not check, rather, just queen h5. And this move hits two squares. Notice the h7 square is hit, and also the f7 square rather is hit, and also the h7 square is hit. And now here black plays, knight g6, and you can see black really doesn't have any choice. He's playing like the only move he can here, just about every move. Now white plays check here and king f8. Now we have another critical position, and also note that black has just about run out of useful moves. I mean, his pieces really are just banging up against the edge of the squares or hitting against each other, and black's loss of mobility and his inability to move his pieces is really tragic. Also, it's really telling at this point how badly how black has almost no space. Now here I chose the simple move bishop e3, and this was my original concept with the idea of h4. I did look at bishop b4 check here and a couple other moves, but I didn't. It was a quick game. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of time to analyze the alternatives, but let's just quickly explore two moves that would have been much better than bishop to e3. Better than bishop e3 were rook a3. That was probably the absolute best. Give that a double exclam, and after queen takes d4, just knight takes f7. You really have to be analyzed with an engine or be towel to be able to have a lot of confidence in that sack, but according to the computer that does work. I mean, that just rips black to pieces there. It's just going to tear black up. Another very nice move too was bishop b4 check. That forces black to immediately lose the exchange with rook e7. Now white doesn't take it right away. He plays rook a3. That's a very good move. I looked at bishop b4 check, but to be honest, I didn't look at it with the follow-up of rook a3. Again, it was a very fast game. If it had been a game with lots of time, a tournament game, I might have been able to explore the options and the variations a little bit deeper. But here, rook a3, king e8, Fritz says that's forced. Rook f3, you can see white's bearing down there. Queen takes d4, now just knight takes f7. Black's pretty much toast. I mean, you can fire up your own engine if you don't believe me and analyze that, but I guarantee you'll see that it's just an overwhelming advantage for white. Black's just falling apart. Black can grab a piece here and there, but in many of the lines he's either going to lose major amounts of material or he'll even get checkmated. So anyway, backing up here after queen h7 check, king f8, instead of bishop b4 check or rook a3, the two better moves, I chose a fairly simple move. Just bishop e3, guarding my center pawn here, but the idea was simply h4, h5, and it doesn't look like black's going to have a good defense. In fact, it looks like his knight on g6 is quickly going to run out of squares. But anyway, black played knight a6. I go ahead and play h4. King e7, that move was just dropping a pawn. According to the computer, black's already dead lost. I mean, there's nothing probably that's going to save his game at all. In fact, to even put up a halfway decent defense, you really need a chess engine. So I don't think it was probable that black could have even saved this game. But anyway, he played just the move king e7, basic idea is just trying to run away from the attack, maybe looking at just running his king, to d7, c7, and b8, just run away from the attack. I mean, if someone sacrifices pieces, so I've done that in my own games, just run away from the attack. And sometimes that idea can be successful. But here I just snatched the pawn, queen takes g7. Now here, at the end of this game, I had over a minute and a half left, and that's over half my time. Remember, the game was just a 3-minute game. I was playing fairly quickly and confidently, while my opponent ran his time down after the sack on h7 to something like 25 seconds. And here he was just down to just literally 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, he had just a couple of seconds ticks on the clock. And predictably, when you're that short of time, you know that a blunder is going to come. So black played rook g8 there, hitting the queen, and now queen takes f7, ends black's suffering. And I present this game not to show off, because that's not my point of this game at all. The point of this game was simply to show you the game, and also to analyze it and talk about factors like sacrifice on h7, the Greek gift, and how you set that up too in advance, and also too the idea of a mobile pawn center, how it's used. It can pawns advance with gain and tempo, hitting pieces oftentimes, and I think this is a real good example of that idea of a mobile pawn center, just moving forward and just kicking black's knights off all the useful squares, gaining time and space at the same time. So anyway, that concludes my analysis of this game. I thought it might prove useful, the analysis and looking at this game, to players, say, well below the level, say, of around 1600 FIDE. And right after this game was played, a lower rated player requested that I analyze this game and post it on my website. And I said that I would do that, although it took me several days to get this work, the video and the web page done. By the way, I do have a web page on this game. If you'll click on the part that says show more just below the video, the box that shows the video, if you'll click on the part that says show more, I'll put the link for my web page in that section there. And just want to thank you for watching my website. Go to PayPal, www.paypal.com. If you like my videos enough and you like my web pages enough and you feel so motivated, you can always contribute and make a donation on the PayPal site using my email address, which is LifeMasterAJ@yahoo.com. And anyway, thank you for watching my video and have a great day.